Hey guys, it's Ben here from the Strength Factory. Happy New Year. If you're watching this video, then chances are you've already listened to my latest episode of the Downtime Podcast, where I talk about all things to do with, trying to just be an awesome human being who can ride bikes until you're like 80 or 100 years, okay? Which is a bit different to my normal subjects that I talk about. Now, I just wanted to give you a little helping hand and just give you a few pointers in the right direction with some of the things I talked about. And so I'm going to start off by talking about the posture. Now, in the podcast, I tried to describe it as best I could, but I think a little video is going to help you to understand what I'm talking about. So in the podcast, I'm talking about making pension payments into your physical pension, and one of those pension pots needs to be your posture, okay? And these days, we live in a world that's trying to do this to us, okay? It's trying to round your shoulders forwards, and it also, that forwards carriage of the head, okay? The chin comes forward, we get a big angle on the neck here, and then it all starts to feed into that rounded upper back. And in the long run, it's just bad news for the way you're going to be as a person, but also for the way your performance is going to be on the bike, off the bike, and just trying to be an active, healthy person as you get older. So, what can we do about it? The first thing I talked about in the podcast is just that general awareness of what you're doing day to day. And, being aware of how you sit when you're driving or at your desk and on your phone all the time. Because actually, the other thing is that our sport that we all love, mountain biking, isn't really naturally that great for your posture. And if you're doing this stuff already, then you can really easily end up riding like that as well if you don't have some awareness. So what you need to do first of all is that day-to-day awareness to sit up a little straighter, open the posture. Okay, so if day-to-day, everything in our modern world tries to do that, then we want to reverse it. We want to open up. So I'm going to open up the posture this way, open up the posture this way, just like having a nice stretch basically. And then the other thing we really want to do is to correct the way you hold your head. And again, this isn't going to happen overnight. You need to be on this all the time. It's a little reminder, like a post-it note on your monitor and things like that. And what I described in the podcast was, imagine there's a string here in the back of your head and you want to pull up. Okay, so that's what you're looking for, to draw up on the back of the head, and that's just going to tuck the chin in, lengthen the neck, and now hopefully you're going to be in that better position. Shoulders down and back, and now you're in a great posture, okay, without looking too stiff like you're wearing a neck brace. Okay, so day to day, you just need to chip away at that. Be aware of how you're sitting, how you're walking, how you're looking at your phone, and the people around you as well, and your family. Do them a favour as well and tell them to sit up straight. A great little movement that I use frequently at the gym is using a band, okay, a lightweight resistance band like this one, to do an exercise called a band pull apart, which you could do every day at home. You could do it before training, before riding. You could even have it in the office if it's that sort of environment. So, palms up, grip the band, shoulders down and back, lengthen the neck, and then split the band across the chest. Now, that's just one exercise, okay? It's not going to magically cure your rounded posture. You're going to need to do some mobility work and some other movements as well. But as a great starting point to do something positive that's really easy to do, cheap and simple, then some band pull-aparts are a great place to start, okay? Just focus on keeping the shoulders pulled down and back away from the ears. Palms up is the way I prefer to do it. It just puts your shoulders in a great position and really split the band across the mid-chest, and we're basically doing the opposite of what day-to-day life is doing. So the other parts of your physical pension that I think you should be paying into regularly are obviously the strength part in particular. Now, in the podcast I talked about a few different things. One of them, which is a mixture of strength and mobility, which is a deep squat, And then there's also a deadlift, a press up, and a pull up, which I'm just going to take you through now briefly, just to give you a little heads up on them. So the first one then is the ability to sit into a deep squat. And this is just a really good indication of where you're at with, whole body mobility. And when you've got this sort of level of whole body mobility, it's going to benefit you now with the way you move and the way you do your sport and the way you ride and things like that. But if you maintain this in the long run, it's really going to help you as you get older to keep moving freely and to just look after your body basically. So, nice and simple, okay? Feet flat on the floor, that's the key here. Knees out, elbows between or wherever. And really, you should be able to chill out down here for quite a long time. You should be able to sit and watch Hollyoaks or, whatever on Netflix. And it should be quite comfy. Maybe at first in the morning, it's a little stiffer and it takes a while to get into it. But actually, as a human, this is like a resting position. And if you ever go to like Africa or Asia, places like that, this is how people chill out, believe it or not. They just chill out here for absolutely hours, and their hips and knees and joints are probably a lot better off for it than sitting on a comfy armchair like we probably all do. So that's the first standard that you should try and work towards and then try and maintain. The second physical one then is the deadlift. Okay, so I've got a straight barbell set up there with, it's 80 kilos, that's what I weigh at the moment. And bear in mind, that's what we're, ultimately would like to be able to lift when you're about 60, in my opinion. I think that's really achievable. But that starts with the actions you take now as a 30, 40-year-old and so on. Now, I'm not going to give you a full deadlift tutorial in this video, but you've just got to remember that, deadlift is a hinging motion. And what that means is you push the hips back and there's a lot of bend in the hips and minimal bend in the knee. So for instance here, this is your deadlift position. So you see there that also looks suspiciously like your riding position, or at least hopefully it does. The key with deadlift is you've just got to dig into the details. Form is everything. A lot of people misguidedly tell you that deadlifts are bad for your back. Well, bad deadlifts are bad for your back. Deadlifts with the correct form and technique, where you've gradually built up the weight over time and you're really concentrating, are incredibly good for your back. And these are the sort of things that are going to keep you strong and robust and riding your bike and doing all the things that you want to do. It's a whole body exercise from literally your grip in your hands all the way up, all the way down your body to your feet pressing in the floor. And that's why I've included it as one of my standards in a physical pension. I think that right now, as a, someone who is probably in their 30s or 40s or even 50s, you should be looking to build up to about 1.5 times body weight. Now, I'm not super strict on exactly what that is. Like, I'm able to lift the bar from the floor, but if you're a bit taller, then you may need to lift it up. Or if you've still got some mobility issues, then lift it off the floor, put it on some blocks, whether it's that much or that much, it doesn't matter. Similarly, there's bits of kit like this, okay? The trap bar, okay, you can deadlift with that, it's fine. It's a little bit easier to get in the correct position for most people, and it's definitely going to allow a bit more room for manoeuvre, especially for those of you who are desk-bound Monday to Friday. The next physical standard to work towards is a press-up, okay? Now, being able to do 10 press-ups starts with being able to do 1 press-up. And again, we're not just going through the motions, it's about doing it perfectly. And a press-up being a whole body exercise where there's whole body tension from your toes through your body, so your bum, your core, all the way up, drilling into the floor like I'm about to show you, okay? And then also getting full depth, okay? That full range of motion where each time your chest is just off the floor. You can see there then that my body stays rigid throughout. One of the common things I see with people doing their press-ups is they switch off their core and their bum and their hips drop, and then you get that kind of banana-shaped press-up, and your whole body doesn't have tension. And that's also when people sometimes feel a press-up on their lower back. You'll notice as well that my arms were basically at 45 degrees to my body. My hands were just under the armpits here, and that's a really safe place. You'll see a lot of people, they put their hands too far forwards. Women in general tend to be guilty of this, if I'm honest. They need to bring them back underneath them and keep the elbows down. That way the posture is good and we're in a safe position to press from. Whenever we start creeping up here, shoulders hunching, elbows coming high, that is when the press up gets a bit sketchy, and that's when people are going to hurt themselves. Remember, if you want to be training and riding and being an awesome human until well into your 60s and 70s and beyond, then that needs to start now by getting strong, but it also starts now by paying attention to detail and not getting injured. If you're injured from the gym, which is a ridiculous thing really, then you can't do anything. You can't ride, you can't train, and it's a complete opposite of what we're trying to achieve. Remember, we're trying to make you better. So be patient, build up gradually, and focus on the detail. So the final standard is going to be a pull-up. Now the pull-up is a great one as well, because this allows for body weight as well. So rather than saying that you need to be a certain BMI when you're 50, 60 or whatever, we're not really worried about that, because for fit active people that's not really a great indicator of actually how you put together. But by doing body weight exercises, that kind of brings your body weight and being a healthy weight rather than overweight and carrying too much fat into the equation. There's not many people who are obese who can do one pull-up, let alone 2, 3 or 10. So nice and simple. A pull-up is an overhand grip, but to be honest, you know what? For some people, like the mobility there may be an issue. We could also do a chin-up with an underhand grip where the palms face you and you come narrower. Either way is fine. You're still moving your body weight and it's still demonstrating a good level of strength. The key here, as always though, is to do them safely, okay? No kicking and swinging around, okay? Leave that to the CrossFit guys. We want to do them nice and strict to build strength and to stay safe. That means we're pulling from here. Now you'll notice when I got on the bar, I pulled here and then I did the reps, okay? And that's going to keep my shoulders in a really safe position because the shoulder blades come down. Lowering under control, and we're looking for that full range of motion without swinging. So I hope that's all nice and clear for you. I've just literally shown you a little introduction to what I think are probably some good standards to aim towards to just be a good human who's strong, who's capable of doing all the things they want to do, and it just gives you something to work towards right now. Remember, there's a discount code at the end of the podcast. I'd love for you guys to get on the program. It's going to cover all of the things I talked about here, building up in a very gradual and smartly programmed manner that's going to benefit your riding, not just this summer and this spring, but in the long run by really teaching you how to train properly and smartly.